Hello again, ladies, gents, and lady gents of YouTube. Welcome. It is I, Ancient Swan, and this is what it looks like when we just jump right in. Today we are in Canada, at Sturgeon Lake, Saskatchewan, and at a site belonging to one of this country's great First Nations. Once upon a time in the wilds of Saskatchewan, where mosquitoes are considered state birds and winters could freeze the bollocks off a bloodhound, there existed the First Nations. You'll have to close your eyes and imagine, though, because despite repeated attempts, I have still not cracked the secrets of time travel. But we're going way, way back. Indigenous folks were setting up shop here, likely thinking, who needs a sea view property when you got this lake? These early settlers weren't just sitting around twiddling their thumbs. They were crafting stone tools and managing fires like it was their day job. Because that's what their day job was. Discovered in 2024, researchers recently shared results of their findings at this site. As they say, history has a way of surprising us. The findings here included stone tools, fire pits, and lithic materials used in tool making, all of which showcase the ingenuity of the early inhabitant. Lithic, in case you're wondering, is just a word that archaeologists and other fancy pants use when they're referring to anything that is related to stone. Why they can't just say that is anyone's guess, but hey-ho, there we go. As well as the lithic stuff like stone clogs and hats made from worn-out rocks. There are also the charcoal layers, which indicate that these early settlers practiced fire management, aligning with long-standing oral traditions and a very well understood absolute human necessity not to burn all your shit to the ground. One of the most jaw-dropping findings in the area is an 11,000-year-old indigenous village. Yes, you did hear me right, 11,000 years old. Archaeologist Dave Rondeau stumbled upon this historical gold mine, proving that the ancestors of today's First Nations were so much older than anyone had thought possible. Radiocarbon dating of the charcoal found here places original settlement here at some time around 10,700 years ago. Not only is the dating a surprise, but what also shocked researchers is that evidence shows this to have been a permanent settlement. You have to understand that at this point in human history, most of our ancestors were migratory beings. We would follow the herds wherever they might go, setting up camps at various places throughout the year. However, the site at Sturgeon Lake was permanent. This, in and of itself, is revolutionary. The elders of Sturgeon Lake First Nations say that this site has always been an important place for migratory animals such as bison and your mother, making it a perfect place to set up home. These people knew where and when the migrating animals would be crossing the water, making it a perfect place to sit and wait. This evidence also supports the oral histories of the people here who have been telling stories and repeating them for hundreds of generations and will likely continue to keep doing so long after your latest iPhone meets the landfill. One story tells how the ancestors started living here after the floods and ice receded. Evidence shows this happened with the recession of the Ice Age glaciers some 10,000 years ago. According to University of Saskatchewan Professor Glenn Stewart, when you hear somebody talking about these huge floods that happened many, many years ago, then that makes us think that, okay, well, maybe there is a connection here because we could see from looking at this hearth that as soon as there was a stable landscape here, people were living there. These results confirm that not only is this ancient settlement one of North America's oldest settlements, but also one of the oldest in the world. But that was then, long, long before Europeans arrived, and long before any concept of a reservation ever existed. Fast forward to today, and this area is now a reservation belonging to the Indigenous peoples of Canada. Culturally, this particular First Nation is predominantly Cree, but also includes some descendants of the Saulteaux tribes. On August 23, 1876, Chief Ayatuskumiki, Imam, Chief William Twat, and 4 of his buddies signed Treaty 6 at Fort Carlton and selected this area as their reserve, now situated on the east bank of Sturgeon Lake, about 30 kilometers northwest of Prince Albert. And in case you're wondering, Twat wasn't just me being obtuse, that was indeed his real English name. He was the grandson of Magnus Twat from the Orkney Isles, Scotland. Anyway, I digress. Nowadays, this special site is looked after by the Assawanak Council, which translates to a place to cross. I more than likely absolutely butchered that name, but it is what it is, and I hope you don't mind too much. This crew, including elders, knowledge keepers, and academics, is on a mission to protect the site. They're like the ancient history avengers, ensuring that these treasures aren't lost to time, or worse, turned into a shopping mall. The Council's efforts have been nothing short of heroic. They're working alongside archaeologists from the University of Saskatchewan and the University of Calgary to study and preserve the site. This team of passionate historians and community members are all united by their love of ancient artifacts and a shared belief that history should be preserved, not bulldozed. With the exception of your mother-in-law, who 100% deserves all the ploughing she can get. The discovery at Sturgeon Lake has sent shockwaves through the historical community, making historians rethink the whole nomadic hunter-gatherer stereotype. It turns out these ancient folks were setting up long-term digs and living the good life. Today, the community is like a time capsule, preserving the ancient ways while navigating the modern world. The discovery of the ancient village is their ultimate mic drop, proving that not only have they been the real deal since day one, but also that their day one was so much more longer ago than your day one that you'd be wiser not to argue and should instead just sit down and start taking notes. The Sturgeon Lake First Nation community actively engages in preserving its language, traditions, and connection to the land. The discovery of the ancient village has further strengthened the community's resolve to protect its heritage and share its history with future generations. It's like they have their own personal time machine, taking them back to a time when life was simpler and nature was their greatest ally. Oral traditions have played a crucial role in preserving the history and culture of the Sturgeon Lake First Nation. These stories, passed down through generations, have kept the community's heritage alive and vibrant. Imagine a game of telephone that actually works, where each storyteller adds their own flair while keeping the essence of their ancestors' tale intact. It's like having a living history book that you can listen to around the campfire. Despite facing numerous challenges over the centuries, including colonialism and the imposition of residential schools, the Sturgeon Lake First Nation has shown remarkable resilience. They've weathered storms that would make even the hardiest of ancient settlers proud. The community's strength and determination have allowed them to overcome adversity and continue to thrive. Efforts to reclaim and revitalize their cultural heritage are ongoing. From language immersion programs to cultural events, the Sturgeon Lake First Nation is committed to ensuring that their traditions are not lost to time. And with that in mind, I really hope this video does this area, its history and its people, some justice, unless, of course, you're one of these people who just doesn't get the humor, in which case feel free to leave your comment below describing in great detail the bits of this video that got your wee girly pants into the biggest twist. And then, after several thousand years and then several thousand more, the great people at Colossal Order were kind enough to make the game Cities Skylines 2. And for that game I indulged my addiction to world building and history and made this map, which you are of course free to download using the link in the description below. Before we get into the map information, my wife is currently encouraging me to get you to like and subscribe. She says that if you don't, she will also turn me into the type of charcoal that some other lucky digger will find in another 11,000 years. So please do help, I appreciate it muchly. And now for the map information, here it is. Climate -4 to 23 degrees Celsius. Buildable area 92%. Outside connections, roads, rail, shipping, air, power, natural resources. Wheat 119 square kilometers. Forest 221 kilotons, ore 112 kilotons, oil 125 kilotons. Terrain flat. And that's it, boys and girls. This has been a tiny wee video about one of Earth's oldest known settlements, and I have been the one who made it. I hope you had fun and or learned something new. Until the next time, I'm off like beef stroganoff. Thanks for coming, and don't forget that I love you. Peace, love, and Sturgeon Lake First Nations.